So, what's the wildest corporate story that you have? I did see a guy up here the other day that was talking about what was his wildest corporate story, and I haven't really seen anybody else do it. But being in corporate America can be strange. So, my wildest story is that a couple of years back, my grandmother, and actually, I believe two or three, I can't really remember at this point, of my grandparents had died in 1 year. So I had to take time off. And I believe they give you 5 days per event for bereavement. So my supervisor let me take that time off. At the time that my last grandparent was dying, I was the person taking care of all of the things at the hospital. So I asked my supervisor, could I go to the hospital and take care of some things? She said yes. She let me go. I got back. She was like, where have you been? And I told her, like, you just gave me permission. So a couple of days later, my grandmother died, and I went to the funeral, came back from the funeral the day after. She pulled me into the office and said, I'm sorry, we have to let you go. And the reason she gave me was because I was leaving the office without permission. And it was times that they couldn't calculate where I was at. It was just showing I was on the clock, but I wasn't doing anything, making calls or anything. And I was like, well, each time I left, you told me I could leave. And we also have a policy where we can use cell phones to call people. So I'm not always going to be clocked on the phone that I'm making a phone call. She called me into the office, and at this point, my emotional situation was just fragile. So I just broke down in tears. She walked over and rubbed me on my back, tapped me on my back, and was like, you know what? You're going through a lot. Let me just go ahead and rescind that. And she tore up the paperwork and everything in there. So another week or so went by. I got wrote up again and had a meeting with I guess at the time they were called vice presidents or supervisors or managers or whatever they were. And I was telling her that, just last week I talked to my supervisor about this. She told me I was fired. She rescinded it. And she was like, no, you were never fired. Who told you that? And I told her, my supervisor pulled me in here. She, said she was rescinding it because it was, I was going through a lot and she'll give me another chance and blah, blah, blah. So she was like, no, that never happened. And then the supervisor sat there and said, no, I never did that. What are you talking about? What? What? So at that point, we were on bad terms. I asked the manager, please remove me from her team because I'm no longer going to be able to work with her. She lied, and we went back and forth. They said they would investigate. It was never anything found of that. I was moved to another team, but yeah, that's my story.